Let's do it, brother. Let's have some
Well,
fun.
indeed, indeed. As usual, welcome, everybody. Once again, thank you for joining us. Thank you for this gathering. For those new to the space, this is an open platform where we share into best practice. I answer question any level, beginning to elite, and we basically share into the knowledge gain. To keep it organized, if you have a question, raise your hand. I bring you in. We share into that comment. If you rather, you can ask also your question directly in the chat. We have Robert assisting us with these answers, and if need be, he'll bring it forward for an open discussion. Okay, so as usual, we'll start with open question period, if any. I assume that we have been exchanging a lot of information. Some is being absorbed, some is being used. If you have question, I'll take them now on what we've covered or anything else as it is. If not, I'll go into another type case study or exercise best practice to follow. Okay, good for everybody. Questions going once. It's the auction time. Going twice. Three times sold to silence. Of course, at
Hey,
any uh,
sold to the lady in the second row. She's an 8, she's a 9, she's a 10, I know.
well, hey, you done this before, you. Uh, love it. Again, at any point in time, you guys can time in on any questions that you have on what you have been doing or what I am showcasing for now. Um, for those who were here yesterday, went over the power of using the digital card, setting it up the right way, understanding how this card actually adheres to what we are trying to achieve when we are doing the sales flow, building rapport, presenting, connecting, following up, booking a meeting. If we set this card properly, we're actually achieving these objectives. Building a rapport through our presentation, offering connection and more insight on what we do, making this promise and opening up into deeper offers, trying to close on an offer. Soft opt in, meaning value. Remember that the more we offer, the more we get back, right? So keep that in mind. Bouncing on that or segueing into this conversation, we'll go into the next part. The masterclass covered the digital card, but also the idea of emailing efficiently and segmentation. So for this today, what I'll do is go over how to approach this process, at least for the first part. Here, if somebody gives us information, we're at the acquisition process of our exercise. Remember, what we're doing is following three steps fundamentally. We're trying to acquire interest, turn that interest, that prospect, into the converted side of our opportunity where we get an opt-in. And from that point, we are trying to build a relationship long term. It's not a catch and release or catch and forget game. Each time we acquire a prospect, we have to come to them with a process, simple, convert them on their interest, and follow through the growth and the retention, especially if there are upsells in mind, right? So very important. There's three basic process that we follow. This one for the first part will cover how I would or how I would recommend approaching this. Of course, we know by now how to build an email. If we don't, I'll go through that process quickly. Uh, Takeaway from yesterday, it was a very good suggestion that Marta had to have, for example, email card. And I created one after the conversation just to show this is something that we can do. It can be used as a blank introduction tool, which is, I think, what Marta was using it, but it can also be used as a signature template for each one of our emails in our sequence. Why not? If the idea is to build trust through this series of conversation, then every time having a picture, having links that maybe are not always accessible on the digital card, like TikTok, if we're busy there, well, that becomes an option. And it's a simple process. Basically, it's a picture with the option also of being linkable. So this is a clickable picture leading back to my digital card and reinforcing basically the availability of these links with text, a simple text block with hyperlinks for each one of these links. So it's a nice added signature template that we can keep in mind using. And keep in mind that this type of format, if we're the type of using our pictures with support imagery, well, we can rotate the offer by changing the context of this picture. So it's a great tool to do, a great process to keep in mind. So back to how we use the tool technically. We click on add new. So you're in the marketing section for everybody that is starting with the tool. For those who are custom, we know where we are. We can use basically our email tool. We have, again, the opportunity to use the AI for the conversation. In this case, I'll use the masterclass offer. And here, welcome, right? Which is usually the first thing that we will do when we start building a rapport or we're connecting. Introducing myself, welcome, or I thank you for giving me the time. Here, I'll just call it welcome email for now. Okay. And we will generate to see what the AI does. It gives us a structure for any level. For me, it's an efficient structure. It has a title, it has the picture that can be swapped for video, it has basically a body, and it has a call to action. Remember that throughout the sequence, this button, the more prominent call to action that you give, is the gateway that you are now monitoring for engagement. If this is a booking link, then I'm monitoring my Calendly after this email sequence starts rolling out, and I'm trying to see if I'm converting, right? For the rest, when this is created, if you're using the tool as such, you have the obligation to come back into this conversation and make sure that we start adding these little tweaks and touch that would align with what we have in mind to have the client go through as a prospect journey, right? It's important. There is for us, or at least for me, the aspect of a storytelling process. We actually hear that a lot in multi-level marketing when we say, well, if you're going to do an email sequence, start with a story about you, right? What they were really trying to get us to do is follow in once again in the first step of our sales flow. Building a rapport, presenting myself, connecting can usually be achieved by sharing your story so the people can relate to you, can understand what you've been through, communing with the same difficulties, and then having more of an open mind to the solution that you offer. Why? Because you lived through the same issues or obstacles, right? So this is usually why this is recommended. Start an email with an opening about yourself, outlining this conversation around you and why it is valuable to have you as a friend. Just like back in high school. Hey, my name is, I'm new here, but I have great toys at home. I have the latest PlayStation. Want to come after? Want to be my friend? Right? We share value to make friends. So often enough, it starts with that. So keep in mind, everything that you're doing across the first series, when in doubt, is really following this step by step objective in the conversation. Now, to make things easier, I want to share something that I do. And this is good for everybody, beginner or elite. Simply put, if you're going to write a story, you need to know the beginning and the end, right? As a writer, at least one thing you know if you're trying to write a story, you know what the hero's story is, and you know at least what end you're going to decide to give him. And the in between is how you start inspiring yourself through events or conversation. This is when we get the character arc in the story, the things that they go through to end up where they are, right? So understanding the beginning, understanding the end allows you to more to control the outcome in between, right? So one of the things I do, and this is something that I recommend everybody applies. Let me share screen before I come back here. Uh, Everything starts in our head, right? So usually I will open up a document and I will start writing what I think as if I was speaking to the AI. And in this case, the conversation is very simple. I want to create a sequence of 5 emails to introduce my business offer to a prospective customer. I am at the discovery stage. I want to introduce that business offer. I want you to write the sequence focusing on the following objectives, right? This is the overall plan for this email. But now I want to go into the mechanics, right? Being subtle, I wanted to first build a relationship with them, then gradually introduce the offer and my availability to help them. Does require a little bit of syntax rewriting there, but this is me just outlining where I want to go with this. Often enough, we have an issue with finding the right prompts, right? I'm using AI, and this today is really to help you focus on using AI. It is part of the tool. Why not using it? Yesterday, I went over that using the right prompts to get the right ideas or the right form to our ideas from AI. And this is what this exercise today is going to be about, right? You guessed it. So here I'm telling it, this is what I want. This is the intent. This is the objective. And you can hear, you can see, I'm already weaving the first part of my sales flow. I haven't talked about really closing a sale or anything. It's about information. It's about showing you that I'm available. It's about building trust, right? And I want the sequence to include properly placed call to actions. And this is important because it means what? Before I even started drafting this, I did the first required exercise. I aligned my marketing assets for this conversation. I know where. And this is coming from my digital card, actually, right? Because your digital card would have all that. So, webinar, workshop groups leading to a discovery meeting with me. These are the points that I want this sequence to do. Special instructions. Coming back to what we discussed yesterday, for me, it's important to break the ice barrier, to go from the we or the very distant conversation, the third party conversation, to the very personal relationship. You and I, that's the we. I want to help you. I am speaking to you directly through that email each time you open it. That is actually that is my approach. It can differ depending on the business interest, but I think that if you're trying, at least at the stage of conversion or acquisition, I would say, to build that relationship, you want to focus on breaking ice, however you feel it natural or normal, or how you present your conversation, right? And the last part is straightforward, my business profile. So you can see that the first part of the conversation here is good for anything, anybody, any prompts. This is basically what we are trying to achieve every time we're trying to build an email. We have this conversation in our mind. I'm going to paste it in the channel, in the chat. So if anybody wants to use it right away to follow along the exercise on their account, so we make it a practical exercise at the same time, here it is. Of course, for those who can't copy the conversation, I will have it as part of our case study when I publish the video. Okay, so having established that, and this document is something that I'm going to come back often to update actually, and to be fair, to show you that I practice what I preach, on the same document, I came back and aligned all my links. everything that can fall into the fold of my objectives, right? I'm building this document. I'll be referring to it until that exercise overall is done. I'll be adding, removing, depending on what happens. So I'm going to switch back now to the AI, and you will see what I've done and the result of it. And I used this a couple of times actually, just to see what the result would be each time I tweak a specific prompt. I'm going to try to increase this there. Maybe you can see it better. So you can see here, this is the prompt exactly, right? And it gave me a first take. I think that was the first one. Actually, no, it was the second one. So I tried it a couple of times. So this was the first prompt, as you can see. I gave it everything, all my links, the whole document that I just read out to you, I pasted it in and it started drafting the conversation, right? And what is good with this process is that it's going to give you all the sequence, 1 to 5, right? 1 to 5. And at that point, you know how the story starts, you know how the story ends. And the last part is you going through the conversation and fine tuning it, right? So in that effect, I prompted it the first time. I took a look at it. I was like, okay, a little bit heavy on the links, right? And this is before I thought about, well, Martha had a great idea to balance this conversation here, or this abundance of link, make it part of the presentation, right? So I prompted first time. I didn't like the results. I had another prompt, change the language. I want basically you to speak or to approach the conversation this way after the review. Okay. And I prompted again, adjusted even my conversation and prompted again, right? So I get my email. At that point, what you want to do, again, as I said, is start looking at what it's saying, right? How is it approaching the conversation? And what I did next, I went back to my document and I basically started addressing the things that I don't like, tweaking a little bit from where to I, from certain conversation point that I didn't want to put forward right now, rather later, or let them discuss. For example, in this conversation here, I don't have a mention of now site. Why? Because I expect them to go discover that conversation when they start looking at the assets, right? Soft introductions. Here it gave me a few links that I'm probably going to get rid of and the rest of the conversation, right? I like the fact that already it's giving me the idea of the sequence, right? If you open this, dive deeper into the digital mastery with us, this is my title. If I want to change it, I can come back to the AI and change it because at this point, having all this in place, all I'm going to do is copy it. And we're going to go back now to the website, to the now site where we were into the email sequence. I'll just reduce a little bit in the email sequence. And I have the choice. I can start updating what the AI has given me. Right? So at this point, I can do this and decide, or taking in account what I created strong of what we exchanged yesterday and come back here. I'll duplicate this here. So I have my email template card. I have a copy. So I can come back here and start adding to this conversation. And at that point, it is straightforward. I'm going to grab a text block, add it above the conversation here. Control V. Of course, I'll have to come back and correct the outlines here. And I can start with a strong video at the beginning. Okay. So this is a more controlled way of preparing your email sequence, right? The simple approach is making sure that you have outlined your business profile. So that way you can actually use it when you are prompting the AI to write the sequence for you. And I ask five, you can ask three, 4, 10, 12, depending on your overall objective. So at that point, you have that email and you yourself can subject yourself to the journey of reading. I hope you are doing great. I'm Virgil. It's Virgil once again, wanted to share a little bit more about our masterclass. Uh, Hope you're excited to dive deeper. We've got a series of webinar working coming up, right? We've covered a lot of grounds, and now, right? It's the the beauty about these type of emails is that if the person has not responded to one, the previous one, well, the conversation draws in more for interest because it's just like you were part of the conversation, right? So this is important. And usually, what I would suggest is when you're writing this, I would I would think that the strongest appeal for a prospect when they're discovering something and they're shy about it is basically the safety in numbers, right? So if by email three of your sequence you have a workshop, a group workshop, this is a great turning point. This is where I think we would see more of the reaction coming through after the first round of email. If you are still receiving it, you are maybe clicking but not engaging full all the way, then there might be a little bit of fear of loss or fear to handle. And offering something that invites a group of people usually gives you the safety of numbers, right? So in a sequence of five, if you have a group webinar event, I expect that to be most likely in the third as being one of the strongest call to action before the final one where we are really insisting on, well, you've been through this series, it's really time to meet, right? What part of what you've received has poked your interest enough for you to stay with me, right? So that is what I recommend. It's simple, right? The prompts are simple to master, or it's really just the approach. If the objective was different, meaning it wasn't for the purpose of um, of introducing, if we are past that stage and I'm looking at conversion, then this part here of the prompt would be what would change, right? I have been through the process of acquisition. The client has shown a strong interest with this aspect of my offer. I now want a sequence that will have him convert on that interest. And it goes back again to the same process. Make sense for everybody? Questions? Who feels that they have achieved this type of conversation flow and would want to share or has something that they have been using and would want to go over the reviews and maybe see how they can optimize what is actually happening? Any volunteer? Lisa, great.
I have a question. So yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, I'm willing to share too, but I have an event coming up
Okay.
in 2 days, right?
Two
Saturday,
days. Okay.
and I initially made a sequence, um, and for this I'm using Groove, so it's not an outside, but
Hmm.
it's a sequence. I made a sequence of three emails um, when they sign up,
Okay.
and then, and that was, based on the date of sign up.
Okay.
But I also added into the sequence an email for Friday saying it's tomorrow, and an email for Saturday morning saying uh, we're, it's
It's
today.
happening. Yeah.
So I was thinking of two things. One, I was thinking of adding an email for tomorrow, which would
Hmm.
be two reminders. But the other question I have is because we're doing a push now for traffic. So for the original three emails, should I delete them from the sequence because we're right up on the event? So if someone is, opting in today, they would get the right thanks for opting in, blah, 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 but they'd also be getting, you know,
The rest
the
of the
reminder.
sequence. Yes, yes. Don't delete that asset, because if it's going to be a revolving event, you will need to come back to that rollout, right?
Yeah.
Duplicate it, and from that duplicated email, remove the ones that don't apply. The first one, thank you for registration, is always going to apply, right?
Good.
And
Yeah.
most likely in this new sequence, those reminders that you're going to be launching will come into play. The one for Friday, the one for Saturday, and even another one, right? Three reminders is at least the minimum, right? For those who are not sure, if you were share, you're getting pumped up. It's not too much, I would say, to become annoying, right? So three is that number. So yeah, if you have between now and then, for those who have opted in and those who will be opting in from now, this same thank you for registering. And for those who are already there, you have your reminders coming up. So I would say that don't delete the asset that you have, because you will come back to that rollout again. Okay. Since you have part of it that is functional, duplicate that one, remove the ones that don't count, add the new reminders, which apply for everybody at that stage. The one just signing up and the one that have just, that will be signing up, or that
So,
have already signed up. Sorry.
so the fact that I'm duplicating it, the people that are already on the list,
Mhm.
right? They're already being triggered for the reminders.
Okay. Remember, when we're duplicating the email, we're not duplicating the contact list. The contact list remain where it is, right? Remember? So what you're doing, in fact, is that I'll take an example on the workshop class. Okay. So I had some of you that registered before, I had some of you that registered after,
Yeah.
right? I had a cutoff date, right? Where I wasn't expecting more registration, and that came to pass. After the date, a few people came through. These I was able to manually basically handle. I'm gonna open the list, but I'll have to blur it anyway, so it's okay. It's okay. Let me just go here, list.
I think I didn't ask the question
Go ahead.
clearly. Um, I'm asking really in the automation of the sequence
Hmm.
that it's triggered by the list,
Yeah.
right? So when I duplicate it, if I didn't do anything but duplicate it or clone it, everyone on the list would get two emails.
No. No, because when you're duplicating, you're creating a new asset that won't follow through the commands of the previous asset. You're just duplicating the content, right? So,
Okay.
for example, you see here, I had this email template card, right? And I duplicated it to add. It doesn't mean that the people that were,
I'm not
eh,
sure I'm seeing the screen you
oh,
want me to see.
sorry. Let me just go back to it here. So yes. So here, for example, you have an email campaign. I'm going to come here and say, here, I added this to my digital card. Let me go here. Or is it? Oh no, sorry, wrong field. I'm going to add this to my digital card here. Where is it? Um, oh, here. Mastercard card. Oh, right. Even as it is, nothing is happening. Why? Because nobody's actively putting their information here. Here in the add to, I'm going to do an extra one. I'm going to add it again. Where is it? Here. Okay. So basically, I'm going to save and exit. Okay. So this basically could be set to be running, and I can come and I can duplicate this, and that has no effect on the campaign that's running, and the people that are being in this list are not going to receive it anew. Okay. So that doesn't affect you. Basically, this is the what you're confronted with. Once you have duplicated this, right? Of course, since the first email would apply to everybody in the list, right? So you would connect it to the same asset for the new people that would be coming through. But you are also going to be adding, for example, your I'm going to duplicate this here, the uh, the reminders, right? So here, reminder. Okay, depending on when you are doing this, if you're doing this today, for example, then you have to factor in the day of tomorrow for the Friday reminder and Saturday, right?
Yeah.
So if we're doing this today, so this basically second email would go, well, today would be immediately. I would send it to everybody, or if for everybody who comes in, and then day one or day two on day one, so the day after, sorry. So it would go for this one. So that's tomorrow, and day two would be Saturday. Now, this is what we were discussing in terms of a setup, okay? And as it is, you can see that this is in place for anybody that is signing up automatically for now. So save here. So this is basically what you would be left with after duplicating and adding your reminders. But at this point, nothing has happened for anybody that is in the list. Anything that will start rolling out will be if at this point in time, after I saved, somebody comes in and puts their information here. They start receiving that. Fine so far?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Now you, for the reminder, everybody that's signed in for the event will be in this list. So you haven't touched the list at any point because you're doing this on a timed, on a short time or controlled time sequence. You will manually trigger basic what's going to happen. So I'm just going to go to do this here. Why is it stalling me? Just reboot here. So now everybody that was interested in my case here came through my card list, right?
Yeah.
As you can see, you have most of you guys, some of you guys have been opting through this channel, and I've been moving you out of this list in and out, depending on where you were going. Some of you registered for the master class through this channel, right? And I came to move him out. Actually, I had one more here. So Arba. So what I do is come to the list and basically move them out of this list and add a general asset. And you would be basically in the how to. So how to workshop, the course library. And in this case, with segmentation, I would put her as well into the segmentation list, right? But this is the maintenance that I would be doing for this list. But you, in your case, you would open up this list, which would be where everybody, old and new, registered. And at this point, you would basically start emailing this list. But you have a controlled option here. So you can come here and actually put this since it's on schedule. And at that point, everybody that is in the list will receive the reminders. And that's it. If you opted today and I do this today, right? The AI will see that you received the first one, will see that you received the second one, or that you're in line to receive the second one. It won't send out duplicates of the same content to the same email. So you have also that safety in what you're doing. Make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Perfect. So it's really that. Often enough, I think the confusion is on what we are doing when we're duplicating email and the action that it's taking on the list. Go ahead, Arba.
Um, this is just to clarify what I ended up doing because I couldn't figure it out, and I just want to confirm. So
Mhm.
I was doing it was a 1 year program,
Okay.
and I was actually developing the email sequence while I was doing the program because I really didn't know what we were going to be doing from week to week. So I had the list and I originally created like the couple of email sequences
Mhm.
that got them into the program. And so if I'm understanding correctly, that because the list never changed, even though I was adding new emails to the sequence, they would not automatically get it. It was
Okay.
the only people that would get from the email sequence are people that actually registered or submitted on the form. Is that correct? That's my
Okay.
first question.
There's a couple of things I have to review in the question because it's not exactly a yes or no question. There are a few things that raised a few flags that I have to address. For
Okay.
example, um, you were building the email sequence as you were rolling out the course. That I understood. But where my first flag was raised is, were you rolling out that email sequence as you were building it as well?
Yes.
That's a big no. I will explain why. I will explain why. Because at that point, the response to your question is that you've created a massive clutter for everybody in the list. I will explain why. Once a sequence is established and running, if I come and I add a new sequence, a new email to it, okay, follow up, and I create a new sequence, the moment I save this, this email campaign overall has been updated. It means that everybody starts receiving the conversation from the beginning if I trigger a new action. Meaning what? I just saved this, right? If I leave it alone, best case scenario, anybody that comes in the tool will start receiving from the beginning and will go into the new added email in the sequence without any disturbance. Best case scenario, meaning I just saved and I did nothing else. But that means what? Nobody else in the sequence is receiving it. If I'm trying to keep everybody updated every time I add a sequence, meaning that after I'm done adding this, I come back here and click send, then everybody starts from the top automatically. Why? Because it's considered a new email. They won't start from the sequence that the next step or the next email that I added. No, they'll start from the beginning, right? And note, those days are always in reference to the first one. I added the fourth email here. I didn't update the time frame. It shot right to the beginning because the anchor to the sequence is always the first. So if you add a new one, you basically are reprogramming the length of that anchor or the reference of that anchor, and it goes into a spin. Okay, so here, for example, technically in nice sequence, it would be day 4. Okay, so big word of advice, big red line to anybody using the email campaign tool. Once you have set things in motion, meaning you have saved and sent, you can no longer update this campaign until it runs its course. Only at the end can you come and add new emails, update, of course, the sequence, and then go at it for another spin.
Right. So what I noticed, the
Mhm.
way I got it to work is because I really needed to keep all of those emails together.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did notice is because it was a group training program, and once the group started, no new people could come to the group.
Ah, okay.
So therefore, no one was submitting or getting added. There weren't any new triggers for any
Okay.
new people getting added. So what I did notice, and I had to figure that out, was that um, I was thinking, which you just confirmed, I was thinking that as I added the new emails, the people who were already on the list would get the new emails, but they weren't.
No.
Right, because the trick so the confirmation is that what triggers someone to be in an email sequence is when they actually register. Is that correct? When they
Yeah,
first.
the automatic here,
Hmm.
automation will kick in the moment somebody registered through our
Hmm.
channel. So it starts
Hmm.
basically, and if things have been saved and left as it is, it will follow the course of the sequence, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
If after doing this, you click here, because this is when technically you're updating a sequence, you expect basically the people in this that are submitted to the sequence to see the new updates, right?
Right,
Otherwise, you would be building a new fresh campaign outside of this one, right?
right,
So if you're doing that, then technically when you add, you click on send, because this is the only way to trigger manually an email to a list, especially if you have finalized it, when you have finalized it. And this is where everything starts from the beginning for everybody. So the
right.
good yeah, so the good thing is there was no new acquisition here. So nobody essentially nobody was impacted by the automation. And if you didn't click here, nobody received anything each time you
Right.
were
So
doing
that's what
this.
I noticed was that I couldn't use it that way. I couldn't add
Mhm,
a new email and then just say send to that list. But what I do want to let everyone know,
mhm.
what did work for me, and it worked perfectly, is that I went to my contact list, and then as I added each new email, then I went to the contact list, and then just said send this next email, send next
Exactly.
email. So yeah, I just wanted to confirm that that was
No,
um,
that's right.
what was working and what wasn't working and why it wasn't. Um, okay.
No, it's a right step that you took in the end. It comes back to basically what we are recommending, what we were covering. If somebody is coming in at that point, there's after the close update, or if you're having a manual input to it, then you're working from the list, either from the list itself. Why is my computer bugging when I'm clicking my list? Okay, well, I'm already in the list. Either from the list itself or client CRM, right? So this is a good approach to fall back on in this case. But definitely remember, guys, when something is running, it's only at the end of the process that we want to act on that send button, especially in the automation space. Go ahead, Rita. You have a question? Oh, you're muted, so I can't hear you.
Hi, and thanks
Hi.
for this. It's so funny because that happened to me where I thought I could continue to add, and it kept
Mm,
sending them from the beginning. They ended up getting five of the same emails. One person opted out, and so I profusely apologized
mm,
that I was just learning the system, and then you shared with me about just sending it as a separate. So this is so true. So that's telling us to or telling me to build out the platform first, which I really liked because that's more structure. And once you have that in place, but I do have a question. At
mhm.
the end of my class, if I want to add, I want them to have a certificate. Would that be a separate email send out, like individually instead of I cannot add it in unless I
Yeah, no. If you're sending out a certificate, I assume that the certificate is personalized for everybody, right? So
correct?
it means that it's a personal interaction each time. You
Mhm.
couldn't make it a group type unless you would give everybody a link where they can go get their own certificate, and that takes away from that level of achieving success and share, right? So that is at a one-on-one level, meaning that you most likely, how are you building the certificate? Is it an e-certificate? Is it a, how is it?
It's an e-certificate.
E-certificate. So most, are you using a specific platform for it, or you're using your own built template and sending that by replacing each time the name of the qualified person? You're doing that way? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would say it would be more of a personalized email. What you can do is create the template here. And in the end, what would change each time is the PD, the picture, the JPEG for the certificate, and the name of the recipient, right? We always receive the same pro forma. You have graduated, Virgil. This is your document. This is your certificate. So in that sense, you can do that, create that template, but it would have to be a manual rollout for each person that graduates, right? So you would be forced to come back each time, update the picture, and then send it. The good thing about the automation is that it would fill in the name of the person and the rest of the details. So you would just be updating the picture and sending basically the email. It makes that
Okay.
process a lot easier.
Great. And I love the digital card because it's quite
Mhm.
different than the one that I'm sure everybody had the same one, but I love that idea. Thank you for that.
Oh, pleasure, pleasure. It's really a useful tool, and it's something that allows you also to give strength to specific offer. For example, for people who have deadline, well, having that direct channel for people to call you, email you, or ask you about the details of the event becomes crucial, right? So these are very powerful tools. They're simple but powerful. Go ahead, Arba.
I just had a suggestion for Rita
Hmm.
of using the trackable link and using the message where you can, because I do this whenever I complete a project for a customer and I want to know that I really want to know that they received the email and they clicked on the link. So you would still have to create a trackable link for each certificate, but at least you can use the message template so that that would make that go a lot quicker. You know, you would just create a template in your messages and
Message, yeah.
then just send that same message to each person, but they'd have a specific link for their certificate.
Yeah, no, that would be also a good approach. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. You're using the email template. So here I'm gonna have to just to show uh and tell what our offered as a solution, which is a viable one as well. Uh Here, I'm gonna look for myself. I should have went to my digital card. I'm plenty there. But here, so in the messaging. Here, remember you have the attachment. So since we're talking pictures, you can basically load them up or have them as links. Are you creating them with what's it called?
Canva?
Canva,
Or
yeah? Yeah,
Can
okay. Canva. So yeah, so you can have them as PDF, PDF create links. You can have a series of links here. And then at that point, yes, you open up the profile, you use the email. Of course, you can also generate your saved messages here, save the template message, and that's it. So that also would speed up the process. Good call, Arva. So that also it gives you a lot of agility, and you can track as well the fact that people have clicked, that the student have clicked and opened their links and such. If there's an instructions to download it, great as well, because they can open the PDF and also save it to the computer as a download. So that's great. They can get the PDF that way. Yeah. Don't we love that community sharing? We have to. Great, great advice on that, Arva. So you have more than one solutions. There's always a way. Questions, add on. Okay. So remember, whenever you want at least in terms of creating copyright or processes, you have a great tool. You have your own version of your AI. And the only thing is just talk to it, right? Sometimes everything is a little bit complicated in our head. This is why we have the need to write it down so we can read it and say, okay, it makes sense. In this case, write it and then offer it to the AI because it will make sense of it and give you basically what you need, or at least a good direction to follow to go where you want to go in this space. And to make it easier, keep in mind that even if we're talking email campaigns, we should approach this as a storytelling experience, right? And to tell a good story, we have to know the beginning and we have to have a solid end result for it. So that way, in between now, that the beginning and the end, we are more strongly inclined to say, well, you know what, I'm going to suggest this, or this is too early for that. We're going to come to that point at one point, or try this and that, right? So keep that in mind. Think about the beginning. Of course, it starts with the acquisition gate. What was the conversation that led to this interest, or what is the interest that I'm targeting for this conversation? It works both way. If you're interested in it, you will see it and come to me for it. Or if I know that you're interested, I'll bring it to you so that we can have that relationship. So it works both ways, keeping the interest of the person in mind, understanding the benefits, and once we know where we're trying to take them, we should focus on what these sales flow is trying to get us to do, right? And the acquisition part, which is the most important part, trying to get these people to come in and give you the time for you to show them why they should stay. That part is important. Use this process so you can map it out, okay? And it forces you again to consider the basic step in all this preparation, right? I need to prepare my assets. How do I get this person to come to me? How do I get this person to go see this? How do I this person to trust me? Right? And for you, all these are links. What links allows me to do this? What links allow me to do that? And how does that link fit into the process? Right? So it's just that you want to make sense of, okay? What am I doing with my client? What is the best steps for it? And I am following a process that is proven to work. It's the sales flow. It's the normal process of a conversation. It gets you in the 50 to 70% chance of getting that connection going. And I remember, it's always about balancing probabilities, right? Right. But the best one to start out with is 50-50. I gave you enough to put you at that crossroad decision. Should I say yes or no? Maybe I need more information. Maybe I need more time. Okay, these are great reaction. I'm going to overturn them. Right? So always think in that approach. Good for everybody? Okay. We didn't get a chance to volunteer anybody. And in all fairness, I think it's good for everybody to have the chance to apply that before I call anybody out to the stage or anybody wants to share what they have done. This is applicable for anything. For example, have you seen here? I'm building on a project myself, reintroducing my own my own brand of clothing. I'm talking to people into the industry, and I am applying all these processes to myself because, well, it's the only thing I know, right? And it worked for me, so why not, right? So I'll show you same thing. I'm writing my business conversation. I am doing the round of all my marketing assets, everything that was new, old. I'm bringing it into one document and I'm prompting the AI for process, right? So this goes beyond Now Site. It's applicable for anything. At least the first part of the conversation that I gave you is the business profile. After that was a masterclass one. But imagine what you get if you switch it for your opportunity. for my wellness products, for my coaching class, for my real estate opportunity. Right? Good? Perfect. I expect great things from you. Why? Because you guys are all great. And that's it. There's no fear to have with this tool. There's no fear of AI to have. A lot of you are not using the AI, maybe because they haven't interfaced with it properly, right? Sitting in front of the AI, I'm not sure what I'm going to say. Say everything that goes through your head. At least it will get things going. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this. Okay, does it make sense? AI will tell you, yeah, it makes sense. How should I approach it? And now you're easily in that conversation. Just learn to talk to it. Take the prompt command bias that you may have heard out of your head. This is your AI. You trained it with your interest. You trained it with your background story. Treat it as the best secretary that you will ever have. Go into that space and talk to it. I want you to write this for me. This is what I'm thinking about. How do you see it? How should I approach it? Right? It's never going to make fun of you. It's never going to mock you. And if it confuses you, it's because you confused it as well. Make sense for everybody? AI is your friend. It's the age of the tool. And just ask it naturally and be in the space with it. Right? If anything, I showed you that even where I am at this level, I rely a lot on AI. Right? I don't need a secretary. I have my AI. Right? I don't need a business partner. I have my AI. It will tell me, hey, this is it, this is that. I need live friendship, and this is why I have you. This is why I go out for teams, right? This is why I network. That what the AI cannot give me is what I seek outside of the AI. But everything else, when it comes down to organizing your thought process, talk to the AI a lot. It will help you at least unstuck you. Okay? That was my final thoughts. And again, oh, I'll have these. I'm having a little difficulties with the update from yesterday, but by tomorrow you should have both of those here, and also the a cleanup version of that offer. Okay, I got it. We are good for today, and we'll see you next week. Um,
Fabulous information, brother. Have a great
give
weekend,
Have
everyone.
a great week.